Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Denise. Welcome to your divine appointment. I am recording this message in order to bring some light into a world that is drowning in a lot of darkness. And I want to ask you certain questions that I want you to ask yourself. When you were born, you were given a name. And upon your arrival on the earth, you didn't know what your name was. You didn't know what name had been given to you yet. So in that time and space, you only trusted God. See, you didn't know whether you were going to be fed. You didn't know whether you were going to be changed. You didn't know how many days of life you were going to have. So there was a clear connection that you had to trust only in God because you didn't know anything else. We walk around with a death sentence on our heads every day, yet we don't live in fear of that or worry. When was that moment that you learned your own name and the projections of your caregivers, of your family, converted you into this persona that you live your entire life trying to become or to be that you're not? You're not that person that they told you that you were. You live in a state of fear, in a state of lack, in a state of scarcity as a human being, not realizing that the creator of everything there is created you out of his unconditional love. See, God didn't create us because he was bored or because he felt alone. He created us to exalt himself, to show his greatness, because we came from a source. His name is Elohim. He's the creator of all that is. Yet, we have forgotten. We have forgotten the sun that shines on us every day, that's outside, that it touches every aspect of the earth. We forgot. And we forgot to look at it as grace. Just like water. We drink water on a daily basis because it's a life, it's a source of life. And we take it for granted and we look at it as we deserve this. When did the ego become so big that we forgot that a creator took his time to create us, to give us his unconditional love? That he holds the days that we walk on the earth. The day that we came in and the day that we leave is all accounted for. When did we start taking these things for granted? When did the projections shape us into versions of us that we're not? We were taught not to be authentic. We were taught to live in survival mode. We were taught to live in a system that feeds off of our frequency and our energy. That everything is a control. And then we stop and we blame God for the choices that we made. Because our parents projected their insecurities and their things onto us. Some of us are generational curse breakers and we don't even understand what that really entails. To come onto this planet to break a generational curse, it comes with a lot of weight. You need to understand that at one point, that was your mother that was carrying that baton to break that generational curse, that she had to confront the demons in her lineage for 2,000 plus years. And when she wasn't able to complete the assignment, that passed on to you. And you wonder why your life turned out the way that it did and why it was so heavy. Sometimes there's narcissists that are put into our lives. And yes, the narcissist is almost like a rapture because they come for your soul. And it's a fight between the light and the dark. But God says that he turns all bad things and he uses them for your good, but only if you allow him to. And I want to explain something about that. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I confronted a narcissist, actually an individual that was extremely narcissistic. But at the same breath, I could have sat there and I could have, one, it allowed me to see myself. It allowed me to see who God was. It allowed me to meet him in the middle. It allowed me to see parts of me that I was, as a child, abandoning, because as a child I was taught love from a distorted lens. So therefore, that's exactly what I was doing. Unknowingly, because we're doing this on an unconscious level. Like, we're not consciously doing this. When you're breaking a generational curse, you come against everything that came against your lineage. Anything that they did back there. That's what the bloodline is for. That's why we have to pray over our bloodline in order to break all soul ties. You need to understand that this is a spirit realm. This is a spirit realm because we're all souls. This is the firmament. And we're here. And there's a great divide happening in the world. If you have confronted a narcissist, God is giving you the opportunity. He sits there and says to you, okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and you're going to allow this individual or set of individuals, because I've had more than one narcissist in my life, including relatives. Sometimes it's your immediate family, because monitoring spirits jump from person to person. And you're confronted with all of this and you don't even know what's going on. You're asleep still, but you're still facing this circumstance and this situation. I get it. I was there. But God gives you the opportunity to turn around and say, you know what are you going to do? Lick your wounds forever? Are you going to forgive like I did? They put him on a cross for coming here, for bringing light into a world that had darkness, to show us the way back home. He sacrificed himself. He was teaching us. Sometimes there's got to be one person that sacrificed themselves for a whole entire lineage so that your kids and your grandchildren won't have to repeat the cycles. Life is seasons and cycles. But it's up to us. Are you going to give that narcissistic individuals the keys to your life to say, I'm never going to love again? I'm going to close my heart up. And I'm not going to attempt to trust. God is unconditional love. So therefore, closing your heart off is simply closing your heart off to what God has given you. You're giving the keys of your life over to an entity, to someone else. I tell you to call your power back. To call the version of you that it's actually you, not the one projected onto you, not the lies from your caregivers, from your surrounding elements, none of that. The real, authentic you, the one that God took his time to create out of love. I questioned him one day. I turned around and I said, Father, the enemy, why didn't you just destroy him? Why not just create the earth to be peaceful and for us not to have to suffer and go through so much? And I'm going to tell you his response to me. His response was, you have 2 kids. And I do, 2 children. And he said, I want you to pick which one you're going to kill. And I had to really think about it. Because what he's saying is just because he's bad doesn't mean he didn't love him. He created him too. That now circumstances, even in the book of Job, he asked him, where were you? He said, pondering the earth. Because all things that are done bad, God turns it for the good. If you're willing to make the changes, if you're willing to change, if you're really willing to step up and say, you know what, I don't like this version of me. Anything low vibrational, anything that's low vibration, like lies, stealing, cheating, hurting another soul, any of those things that are low vibrational are what God is calling you to release. How can he release onto you blessings? How can he release onto you wish fulfillment, a divine partner, when you're vibrating at a low frequency? And I understand that we live in a world of illusion, in a world of fantasy, in a world that will sell you everything that you could possibly think of, but at a price. My question to you is, are you willing to pay the price? Because living a lie, living in a world that projects lies to you, and just going with the wave just to fit in, has an expensive price. Your soul is at stake. You know, there's angels that have fallen from the heavens that still have not been called upon. There's things that are happening in real time that people are still not aware of. There's a lot of people that are awakening at this time, and there's a lot of people that are still sleeping. It's just like the movie The Matrix. Are you going to take the blue pill or the red pill? But you got to take one. And being a generational curse breaker is not easy. You get attacked by your relatives. You get attacked by society. You get attacked by handlers that are sent into your life. It goes on and on and on. But you got to get up. You got to get up and you got to keep shining. And you can't give your light and your frequency and your power over to just anybody that walks into your life. You got to check the fruits of the Spirit. You got to check where a person's coming from. You got to check their lineage. There's a lot of homework that needs to be done before you create a soul tie with another human. And as much as I want to sit here and I want to tell you guys different, I got to prepare you. And I got to be completely honest with you and tell you the truth about what's going on. We are souls inside physical vessels. This is an avatar. And what you're fighting for is against principalities that you cannot even see, because unless God has given you the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you're not going to understand. And I get it, because I was you. Until I started to see. If you look at the movie The Matrix, it's all there. If you look at the movie Fallen from Denzel Washington, it's also there. The jumpy monitoring spirit. In the Keanu Reeves movies, you could see him there. John Wick, how he flips the coin. And he either has covering or he doesn't. That means you have spiritual covering. I want you to understand that every time you vibrate low, every time you do something out of God's order, you are in the enemy's jurisdiction and you are giving him the keys to be able to handle in your life. Until you're walking the path of light, until you're walking in the fruits of his Spirit, you are not under God's covering. You are letting the enemy do with you as he will. Because there's jurisdiction. There's only so much he can do without God's consent. So what are you playing into? If you go out drinking and you get drunk, why does God say not to get drunk? You know why? Because you act out of character. Because you do things that you're not sober about, and then you give the enemy portals to jump into your body and to act on your behalf. And by the time you wake up, you don't even know what you did. There's a reason for his sovereignty and the reason that he wants to protect us and keep us. I mean, we're parents. Don't we love our children? Don't we do everything to keep them out of harm's way? How is he different? You know, he took his time to create us. He provides us with his life force, with the sun constantly beaming on us to keep us warm, to keep the planet alive, because without it, the plants would die, we would die, the ocean would die, all of humanity would stop existing, and the sun touches every point of this planet. Water that we drink is the source of life, because without it, we can't live. And we started taking these things for granted. We started taking these things and thinking that we were worthy of them, or they're into the entitlement of the ego. ego telling us that we're so entitled to this and entitled to that, and we don't stop to say, this is by grace. The days of my life are numbered by grace. The water that he provides is grace. The sun that shines on me is grace. God wasn't bored. He created me with intention. He created me out of unconditional love. Yet we don't stop because we're so selfish that we prefer this life, this material realm, over his unconditional love. And I want you to ask the question, could you add 5 minutes to your life? You can't. So clearly, when did you see yourself separate from God? When did you see yourself separate from source, from the creator of everything? When did you stop noticing his sacrifice? When did you stop noticing his love for you? In a world that's gone so dark that people are losing their way, I call you back. And I tell you to look within. He says the kingdom of heaven is within us all. And it is. It very much is. You just have to invite him in and say, you know what? I want you to change me. There's things about myself that I don't understand. Help me see them, and he will. He's a loving Father. We have been taught to feel shame about the things that we've done wrong. But let me tell you, we're all capable of doing wrong things. At all levels. Don't let the shame hold you back or to make you feel unworthy. This is a world that will make you feel unworthy, that will make you feel insignificant, when to your Creator, you're not. He created you out of pure love. He took his time. You know, I step away and I look and I say, you know, I'm a mom of 2 children. And I can't imagine my kids not loving me. I can't imagine them turning on me, you know? And I say to myself, imagine creating something out of love, out of unconditional love, and it turning on you. Imagine your own creation turning on you. Because you prefer something that's temporary gratification. This world is temporary. You're not going to take your house. You're not going to take your car. You're not going to take the money in the bank. You're not going to take your clothing. You're not taking anything with you. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in this life. A lot of hurtful, brutal lessons. Sometimes lessons that people do not recover from. And I'm telling you because I've seen it in friends, in family members that have experienced even narcissistic abuse to certain levels where these people have never wanted a relationship again because that aspect of them was so fragmented that they can't even fathom a relationship. And I stepped away and I realized what it was that caused it. But at the same time, I'm here to tell you, pick up the pieces of your heart and don't give anyone the keys or the power to take that love that God planted in you from the time that he created you to another human being that's distorted. Because that's a reflection of them, not of you. The reflection in the mirror that they're showing back to you are the things that you're allowing. Or the fact that you're not loving yourself enough, that you're not valuing yourself enough, that you're second guessing yourself. But God gave you intuition as well. Every time your intuition heightens and it's telling you this person's not for you, and you keep pursuing it and you keep chasing. If you're chasing, you're not attracting. And sometimes the light beings that are here in the earth angels, that are here to bring light into a place of darkness, that are here to hold up the collective, that are here to bring people back to God. Those people receive the most brutal lessons. You might be an earth angel and you might not, in human form, and you might not know it. I'm here to tell you that God loves you. I'm here to ask you to ask yourself these questions. When did the ego tell you you were entitled? When did you stop forgetting that God holds every single moment of your life in his hands? When did you switch and exchange material for your relationship with God? For the moments that you spend in quiet time with him, that you allow to listen to the sound of his voice, because we live in a world so corrupt and so full of lies and noise that we barely have time to listen to him. God didn't build us to work a 9-to-5 job. God didn't build us to live under scrutiny of governments and societies and things that are happening around us. That's why the world is in such chaos. These things must come down. They must come down because the light needs to shine through. Reality needs to shift. We can no longer continue to live in the way that we're living, in survival mode. If you're living in survival mode, you're not trusting. It's in that moment when you release the control and you say, you know what? I can add 5 minutes to my life. I can't even take it, because he controls that too. So then what are you going to do with your time here on earth? Who are you going to serve? Because you can't serve two masters. It's either your ego or God. And I'm leaving this message because I know that it's needed. I see where the world is headed. I see the things that are coming. And I see a lot of souls are lost and a lot of people are in pain. And I understand. I clearly understand. I have been put through the fire myself. I have experienced a lot of loss in my family, a lot of experiences and a lot of things that have, caused a lot of pain. But I also understand that God glorifies himself in every way in my life. And as long as he is there and I put him first, I'm always under his covering. I'm always protected and loved. Sometimes the biggest challenges comes from those that you care the most for and you don't understand, and you find yourself saying, but why? I'm a good person. Why do these things happen to me? To be a soldier of God, you have to be put through the fire. How's he going to know if you're not tested? In heaven, the angels have ranking. We all go through ascension. We all go through a period of testing to see. And that's how God separates and says, okay, this one's mine. This one doesn't want to walk with me. And that's okay. He's such a gentleman. He doesn't force us into eternity. It's a choice. I serve a God. His name is Elohim. I serve the Son of Man. That is the God that I serve. I don't serve religion. I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in dogma or doctrines. I don't believe in none of those things. I believe in my Creator, the one that took his time to breathe life into me. And I hope that today this message serves for you to ask yourself certain questions in your life. And if anything in this message related to you or touched something in you, leave a comment. I'm starting this channel to connect with people. I'm going to continue to share more of my stories. I happen to have met someone that I shared a lot of similarities with as far as life is concerned. His daughter shared my birthday. His sister shared my daughter's name. His mom and my mom have the same health conditions, lived in the same country. I was dating someone of a certain age, and he was dating someone of the same age. It was like we were living parallel lives. He was like another aspect of me. The spirit realm and God's way is not our way. He says it. He says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor my ways your ways. And he's brought me to that conclusion showing me how connected I am to everything that is. I'm connected to we're never disconnected from each other. I believe that when we come in to this planet, there's that point where the ego, where we find ourselves, the ego takes over and we see ourselves as disconnected. Upon death, we reconnect again to God, to Source. Not that we're disconnected now, but the ego is involved. And I mentioned this gentleman, it's because God is far greater than we can comprehend. You know, there's different layers to relationships. You have a soul family that's aside from the actual family that you were born into. You have, you know, people that are here to fulfill missions with you that you might not be aware of. You know, there's a thing called Akashic Records. You might want to look into that. You know, it goes deeper. The spirit realm is real. We are souls in a human body. And this is the firmament. There is a war going on. You know, we are fighting against spirits of darkness, people that want to take over and keep us under a mental control. You know, systems that don't want us to move forward. And those systems have to collapse because humanity has to rise. We have to be free. Consciously, we have to grow. We have to evolve. We cannot maintain the same cycle. It's almost like you get up, you brush your teeth, you take a bath, you do the same thing, you go to work, you come back, and it's a revolving door of the same and the same and the same. And the soul needs expansion. So there's a lot more. And I'm going to be covering some of those things on this channel. I'm going to be sharing some of my stories. If you confronted a narcissist, you know, you have to look at that narcissist has helped you look at yourself in the mirror. Does that mean stay in a narcissistic relationship? Absolutely not. Run for the hills. Don't walk, run. There is an entity inside of that person and they don't know. That's why God said on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they not know what they do. Because when you are under a demonic possession, when you are under the influence of a spirit, you don't know what you're doing. That spirit is operating for you. So I'm going to go deep in this channel and try to connect with you guys and help you in any way that I possibly can. But in the meantime, I want you to ask yourself the questions. Could you add 5 minutes of your life to your life? No. You trusted from the moment that you arrived. You didn't know the length of life that you were going to have here. Yet He's cared for you. That there has been struggles. He promised that if we were in the fire, He would be there with us. He didn't say it was going to be an easy journey. He just said that He would accompany us. So don't give up on your Creator because He hasn't given up on you. I love you guys, and I hope this message reaches you. I hope that, you know, it makes you ask yourself questions. Please leave a message in the comments. Like the video so that I can continue to create content. And I'll see you in the next one.